And that leads us to our next part of the coverage here. Yeah. Thomas Glasgow is a defense attorney. And Tom, where do you begin with this one?
You know, first of all, you have to understand that the U.S. Attorney's Office here is an extremely conservative office. They really do not bring charges against someone unless they've got very, very good evidence. And as you saw outlined by the press conference earlier today, they do have not only a lot of evidence from the governor's own mouth, but the people who have surrounded him. And I find it really astounding that the governor would make comments like this on the phone to people around him in the time frame that he has made them. He is, for a long period of time, been considered a target of this investigation. It's really been no secret that from Resco on back, they were looking at the governor for possible criminal charges, and yet the most astounding thing that has occurred is with this Senate seat and the alleged sale of the Senate seat for favors of some sort.
It's inconceivable to me, I mean, that he would go out and start, uttering these words or talking to this extent when you say that he has to have known that the feds were looking into at least some aspects of his administration. So, I mean, you're talking, say, let's just, you're his attorney. What do you say? What were you thinking? What do you say?
What you have to do, I mean, when you get cases that have consensual overhears, when you get them with wiretaps or bugs or such, you have to sit down and talk with your client about the context of all the statements made and how they were made, because they are extremely damning when you don't have them in the whole. That you can take something that you say or that Mike would say, and you take it out of context. And it becomes very damning. However, when you look at these things and you want to take them back into context, back into the context of the whole conversation, that's really the only way that you can defend these things, because a good prosecutor will sit and hammer away at the statements that were made that the U.S. Attorney talked about this morning and are incredibly, incredibly damning for Governor Blagojevich.
It sounds like the FBI has a lot of whole conversations with context.
Yes.
Is there any likelihood that this bombastic statement he made yesterday was on advice of his defense lawyer, who said, go out there now, this is something you might be able to use eventually at a trial, defend yourself, say, come on out and record me, say what you'd like, people, because I'm totally innocent?
Well, you could speculate that. However, generally speaking, I think that he probably did not know about what they had him on tape. This was his knowledge of what went on was probably from the Tribune. It was probably not from another source. And, he had to respond to that in the public, especially when he's making statements to help the citizens of Illinois when he was out doing the press conference with the Doors and Windows factory that was over in the city.
And what do you tell your client on a day like today, when he gets that phone call and then he calls you and says, the FBI is at my door? What do you tell him?
You tell him to stay calm. You tell him don't make any statements without, your attorney being there. You do have your Fifth Amendment rights. Please invoke them. You are now in custody of the federal authorities. He's going to be processed, or has already been processed. He's going to have to go do the bond hearing before Magistrate Judge Nolan today. They're probably going to, when they have the detention hearing, he's going to have to post some kind of bond. Wait till I get there. Wait till you're out of custody if you are fortunate enough to be released in this situation, and we will talk when we get a chance to talk in private. Now is not the time to talk when the federal agents have you in custody or you're on the phone, etc.
Not to be flippant, but in terms of not talking, I mean, I think the horse is out of the barn on this one. In terms
I agree with you. I mean, especially when you do consensual overhear tapes or cases, when you have wiretap cases, and you've got your client right there on tape, it is very, very difficult to close the barn door, as you said, because the horses have already gone down. They're gone.
Well, the governor is due in court to appear in about 40 minutes. What would you be saying to a client such as the governor at this point for the next 40 minutes, which must be very anxious?
Well, first you want to determine whether or not you're going to be able to be released, without, on your own recognizance, or if you're going to have to post any kind of bond in the federal court system. You have to post property in order to make sure that you can be released. You cannot post any kind of monetary value. You want to tell him just stay calm. The court is going to hear all sorts of facts. This is the prosecutor's case. This is the first time they get to speak. Let them say their piece. Don't overreact. Don't make any kind of overt reaction to anything that they may say.
We're going to step aside for a moment. We will be back with our continuing coverage of the story this morning. This afternoon, Governor Blagojevich and John Harris, his chief of staff, have been arrested. They'll be in court in a little while. For any information 24/7, we invite you to go to myfoxchicago.com.